Welcome to the Voices of the Goddess podcast. We believe that there is a goddess inside each and every one of us. When we use our voice to share that goddess, we support and uplift each other. Join us each week as we interview women to receive the message of their goddess within. Good morning, everyone. Doing our little pause there because some of our episodes have been getting cut off in the beginning. So awkward pause for a moment there. But welcome, everyone, to the Voices of the Goddess podcast, where we empower, inspire, and uplift women to become the goddess they are meant to be. I am Julietta, the magical PT. I'm down here in sunny Fort Lauderdale, which it is sunny today, but we've had a lot of cloudy days. I'm like, what happened to the Sunshine State? And I've been a PT for 30 years now, but I'm like away, outside the box, non-traditional. I always laugh, like, you know, there's groups for everything on Facebook. We have our, goddess group, but I have been kicked out of multiple PT Facebook pages because they didn't like my points of view, so they kicked me out. So my license says I'm a PT, but I'm definitely not your typical PT. And I'm a single mom of 2 cats. Well, 1 cat and 1 alien. The one cat is like the man of my dreams. He's just unbelievable. And the other one is this creature that, like, nobody knows what it is. Every time someone sees it for the first time, they're like, right?
I'm laughing so hard, but it's so true.
And like the funny thing is, like, like as a human, we can look at it and go, okay, that's a cat, but she ain't right. But other animals, they like have this bizarre reaction, like, what is that?
Now we're going to put a picture of Sekhmet up on our group because people are going to see what she looks like.
Okay, I'll put a picture of Sekhmet up there sometime today. But
okay,
yeah,
sorry.
So who are you?
I am Allyson Mancini. I'm a holistic nutritionist, and I am also in South Florida. But originally, we are Midwest girls. I am from Michigan. I know.
I'm from Wisconsin.
Our guest is an Ohioan. I think that's what they call
themselves. We're like all Midwest today.
I know. You're Wisconsinite. I love saying that, Wisconsinite, because I can get my little, Midwest accent going again. But I have been here in South Florida for over 28 years, married to my husband over 28 years, have 2 amazing adult children. And I have been in the process of becoming a holistic nutritionist for like the last 20 plus years of my life, and finally said it's time. And so last year got my certification, and I'm super excited about it. My passion really is just to help busy moms and help women with their nutrition. Because the reality is if you eat well, you'll feel a lot better than if you don't eat well. So that's the bottom line. And I have been really astonished by a post that I had the other day. I put a post up. So I have dealt with depression and anxiety throughout my life. Since, when I look back at it, since I was very young, didn't really realize that until I got older, that's what was going on. Because, I self-medicated. In Michigan, there's nothing else to do but party. So that's what we did. Right. So I put a post up about that, and I put how, this last year and a half's been tough. Like, I work from home. This is what you see is what I see every day. Like this is the most I've seen of people all week is you guys. So it can be really a struggle. And I have had the most interesting conversations of people reaching out to me that I have known. There's one person I'm thinking in particular. I have known him since I was a little girl. He was one of my sister's friends. He actually reached out to me in Messenger, and he's like, thank you so much for posting that. I've been struggling myself What do you do you have suggestions, and people don't really realize that so much of what you eat can really affect your brain health because it's all tied together, your stomach, your brain. But it's not just about nutrition. It's about everything. It's about, you need to meditate, you need to take time for you, all of these things. But I think the biggest thing that I loved about putting that out there was I know so many people that deal with it, but they don't want to talk about it and they're afraid to say anything because of what other people think, right?
But here's the thing, like everybody, like nobody is completely alone in whatever they're going through. Like somebody else out there is going through it. And when you can share that out there, like it helps heal. It helps others heal. Yep. And, that's part of too, this podcast and our groups that we have is that, we all have something to share with the world. And, the more that we all put ourselves out there, and so important right now because the world is so divided right now with what's going on. Like, and they are trying to divide us even more. But like when we share, the more like we all realize that we're all experiencing these things and we are all one. Like it's just that will connect and bring us together. So like, thank you, Allyson, for sharing that and like letting people know that they're not alone. And I just really encourage everybody else out there to share your story, share what you're going through, and it will help other people as well.
I agree, for sure. And speaking of that, we have an incredible guest and I can't wait to bring her on. So we're just not going to wait any longer and bring her on.
Let's do it.
All right. Hey, Aleshia.
Hey.
So happy to see you today. So tell us about you, girl.
Well, I am a mother of 3 boys, all boys. Even the dog is a boy. I have 2 teenagers and a 10-year-old, and life is interesting right now because as I just moved. I bought my first house, and so I'm all out of whack. But I'm like sitting over here listening to y'all because this is an area that is, as you know, Allyson, just meeting you, Julietta, so you didn't know, but I am very, 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 very much a huge mental health advocate. I am also a wife to my very best friend. We've been together for 17 years, been married for 9. We did everything backwards, had kids first, then started a cleaning company. Then I decided, well, I'm going to create my own businesses. And so I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm a certified branding and marketing coach with the Gold Digger Girl. And I am also a social marketer for a few companies. And I just absolutely love what I do. But where I have the most passion is really talking about that mental health advocacy, as I'm somebody who has struggled with depression and anxiety and also an impulse control disorder called Trichotillomania. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, Tricho, what? So it is also commonly known as the hair pulling disorder. I have literally ripped out my hair for 24 years. So when I hear people that are like, I'm so stressed out, I could rip out my hair. I'm like, no, don't. It's not a great idea. And it, listening to you guys, it just reminded me back when, I first started being vulnerable about it. And I'm even going to be a little bit more vulnerable with you guys, because this is a piece of my story that I don't talk about enough. It's the part where I have the most high spectrum, I guess you would call it, of trichotillomania. I actually have the Rapunzel syndrome. And what that means is that I know I don't just pull it, I chew on it.
Oh, that's right.
It terrifies me, because it's like, if I pull, I know I'm going to chew on it. And doctors have told me for years and years and years, if you keep doing that, you're going to get a hairball in your stomach and you could die from it. And so I'm like, but in the last 3 years, that's when I, started sharing my story and really realized what the impact I was making was, where before I wouldn't talk about it because I felt like a freak. People treated me like a freak. They, if I could have a nickel, I don't even say a penny, for every time people said, why don't you just stop? I would be a millionaire by now. I'm just saying. But it's been an incredible journey. And, the more and more I do it, it's, people are reaching out and saying, oh my God, I've done that for years. I didn't even know it had a word. And I'm like, well, that's partly why I do what I do. But it's also, I reach out to people also that, any type of mental health disorder, because even if we have different disorders, the feels are all very, very much the same, so I will never stop talking about it. I will continue to be vulnerable. And, that's the one thing too, that I think people get a misunderstanding of. Like, they're like, oh, you just posted it again. You must be conquering vulnerability. And I'm like, no, I'm vulnerable every time. And I'm, breathing, and freaking out every time I post it, because it's the part where I see all the love and everything. And I actually have to be cautious of responding, because that could even be a trigger for me too. Yeah. But I very much love teaching people the tools that I have learned over the last 3 years that really have changed my life, because depression is gone. Anxiety, for the most part, is in check. And even with my pulling, like, I had actually just recently hit a streak of 240 days. I did slip on it, but I'm back up to 22 days pull free. So I'm back on track. My bounce back, it used to take me over a year. It took me a week. So, and sometimes it's like even a couple days. I'm like, so progress, always progress. Always.
So it's interesting, because I know a few young women, well, they're young women now, but when I first knew them was years ago. She was in, I want to say 8th or 9th grade. I knew her mom, and she had the hair pulling so bad she had to wear a wig. Yep. And then I know another sibling of one of my son's friends who she's dealt with it. She's in her early 20s now, and she's been dealing with it for probably the last 5 or 6 years. And it really is. I can't understand it because I don't do it, but I've seen you and what you posted on social media about it. And I think we don't realize. I'm curious though, does it run more with females?
Yes.
I would think so. Yeah.
It's typically 1 in 5 men and 3 in 5 women.
Wow. That's a lot.
It's, everybody's like, oh, that's such a rare disorder. The only reason why it's considered rare is because people just don't know about it. Like, we call ourselves tricksters. A lot of, like, the groups that I hang out in, we call ourselves tricksters, just so that it's shorter. But it's the, let's see, what was I going to say? It's the piece that it's like, we suffered in silence for so long. Dare to say, yes, I am somebody who does this, for fear, like you were mentioning earlier, for fear of what other people would say, and what other people, even just the looks, because it used to be so bad, I would cry to sleep at night, just, terrified that I was never going to be able to stop. And I would buzz my hair off. I did it before Brittany, I'm just saying. I made it look good. And then I wore the bandanas. When I would go to the store, people would walk up to me and they're, oh, I'm so sorry. And at first I'm like, well, I have trichotillomania. Like, I don't know they thought I had cancer.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I bet.
So it was like one of those situations where it was like, do I try to explain what I have? And eventually I stopped trying to do that. And I was like, oh, thank you. Just thank you. Yeah. I had to do wigs. My first wig was my senior year in high school.
Oh, wow.
I was bullied from kindergarten to 12th grade. So 12th grade was the worst. Yeah. And then it was interesting because years later, after I graduated, I actually found out that I had a couple classmates that actually did the same thing. We never knew that each other did it. And I wore, like I said, I wore bandanas, I wore wigs. I definitely became an introvert because of it. Because it was just, it got to a point I didn't want to keep having to explain until I made that point of view change where it was like, wait, there's other people that are going through this. Right. And one of my things that I hated was the feeling of being alone. I just, for over 20 years, I felt alone with it. And, self-help books and all that, it was nothing but a struggle. And then I found a Facebook group and I was like, oh my God, there's all these other people that have the same, like, they get me. They get me to the core. So that's when I finally started opening up and sharing my story. And people get a hold of me all the time. They're like, we don't have the same disorder, but I want you to know that. My favorite one was, she's like, I've been watching you for 2 years. I haven't commented. I haven't reacted to any of your stuff, but you really have helped me just by showing up. So that's my goal in my businesses, and something that I keep in the back of my mind and with social media is, if I could help one person a day.
Right.
I don't know who that person is, but I'm going to make a commitment. And I did this years ago, obviously. I made the commitment of, I'm going to show up just in case she needed me today. Because I don't know what day she needs me.
Right.
But I'm going to be there.
Well, I would have never guessed that you were an introvert, knowing you how I know you, but I can see it because Julietta and I talk about that all the time. But we need to get into our questions because, holy cow, we've got questions to dive into. All right. Are you ready, Aleshia?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Question number 1 is, what is your superpower?
My superpower is my emotional connection. I absolutely love to help women to get the best of themselves instead of the rest of themselves by, prioritizing them first. We can't take care of other people unless we're taking care of ourselves.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
We say that all the time.
We do say it all the time. So Aleshia and I just only first met in person back in May, which was really cool. So we both work for this amazing woman, the Gold Digger Girl. And I was so blown away by Aleshia when I met her, because I know you as the girl with the pink hair, right? That's how I knew you. You were the girl with the pink hair. And I can see how you are really gifted at that. Absolutely. I've seen you work with other women in coaching and interacting, and that's an amazing superpower.
Why, thank you. And it took a while to realize it, because I always just thought I was an emotional basket case, right? But, really, when I leaned into coaching and really saw the potential of my own, it blew me away. And every day I'm still pinching myself, like, this is my life. I get excited about waking up and helping to change other women's lives, and in any way that I possibly can. So it's like, if I need to be the shoulder that they need to lean on, or the techie one that they need to come to because they're like, I can't figure this out, or even the person that say, all right, girl, let's get moving, like chop, like I will be that person, whatever they need. So, and just to do it on that emotional level is like, it's just a natural thing that I do, because people ask me how I do it. I'm like, it just comes out.
And I don't know that if you realize, and maybe you do, and I apologize, I'm going to have to get up and let the dog out in a second, but you are extremely comforting to be around. Your energy is very calming. I don't know if you realize that, but that was one of the things when I first met you. I was not nervous to meet you because, I don't know, there's just something about you that's very comforting. And I think that you have that for a lot of women. I think that they feel like they can be themselves. Maybe it's the pink hair. I don't know. But
I mean, you can't not smile at somebody with pink hair. And you literally just gave me the chills. So thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Question number 2 is, what is your favorite book, or a book that has most influenced you?
I am a huge reader. And fun fact, I was not a huge reader until 3 years ago. It was like 15 years since, 18 years ago. Since 3 years ago, it was 15 years since I really sat down and read a book that I wanted to. And although I've read a lot of books in these last 3 years, the one that I would have to say that got me going was Rachel Hollis's Girls Go Wash Your Face, because it really made me realize, like, okay, you need to make some changes, and they need to start now. And that book is the one that really just pushed me into reading altogether and really getting into personal development and really changing my mindset and rewiring my brain and the whole 9 yards.
I read her book years ago, and I would say that was one, not years ago, but probably, it was definitely before meeting Kimberly and getting involved with the Gold Digger Girl. And I feel like that was one of the books that kind of started me on the journey of like getting over it and just doing it. Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I loved that, just how she wrote it. It was very relatable. You could see yourself within her story, and then like kind of put yours in there with it. I even still remember after got to the end of that book, I was like, honey, I'm going to write a book. What do you think about that? And he's like, okay, I technically have wrote one. I have not published it. I'm actually going to be tweaking it and stuff like that in the next few months to then put it out there. But it's got some work to do. So
you need to get it out there. Have you ever read the book Big Magic?
No,
Heard of it?
Not. I need to write this down.
So we are doing a book club right now for Voices of the Goddess, and there it is, Big Magic. And the reason I'm telling you this is you need to get it out there because that idea is in your lap, and you need to get your book out there. Don't procrastinate, girl.
Yes, ma'am. I will not. And speaking of that, as far as my favorite procrastination book, The 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins, I love it because it got me to stop procrastinating. I will tell you, my husband, biggest procrastinator across the land. And he was such an influence on me that I started procrastinating a lot until I read that book. And she breaks it down into the science of it. And then she also shows you how you can use it in different situations. But essentially, it's a very simple idea of you count down from 5 and then you just go do the thing. And so I was doing that. I'll be honest with you, though. I do 6 seconds because I'm OCD about even numbers.
That's right.
So that's the thing.
Well, I was going to say, I thought the 5-second rule was if something fell on the floor, as long as you picked it up within 5 seconds, you could still eat it.
But you did it. See? Oh, yeah, we have that rule in our house. This is a boy house. We eat stuff off the floor all the time.
Listen, anybody that has children, the 5-second rule exists, period.
Right. Sometimes we go to 15.
Even for cat moms, it exists too.
Absolutely. And dog moms.
And dog moms. Okay, so question number 3, and you talked about this in the very beginning, and this is one of the things that I learned the hard way, how important it is. But we've segued. We're not calling it self-care. We're calling it self-love because we feel like that's a much better description of it. So how do you practice taking care of you and showing yourself self-love?
So many ways. But I will have to share the one thing that I've actually been sharing with a lot of my students because I'm seeing a lot of this going on, especially in women. And yes, I do the facials. I have an esthetician that comes to my house. It's amazing. I get the massages, all that good stuff. And that's great and grand and wonderful. Mm-hmm. But the one thing I notice overall right now, especially, women don't show ourselves appreciation for the things that we do. And then we are losing sleep. We are anxious. We, all these feelings, frustration, all the things. And it's interesting because I did pick, the Rachel Hollis book to tell you as far as my favorite book. That was actually a book that one of the things that she was talking about was, it's when I got into journaling. And it was like, journal your goals, journal your gratitude. And it was in that time, and nobody taught me this, and everybody keeps telling me I need to get a copyright or whatever, but I don't care. Everybody can use this idea. I was realizing that I was having big problems sleeping. My brain was always firing off. And I already have an anxiety issue. So it was like times 100, And I just sat there for a moment because one of the thoughts that kept going through my head was I didn't get anything accomplished today, although I was exhausted. So I knew I had to have done something. So I started journaling every night about 30 minutes before I go to bed every single day, even if I don't do my miracle morning and all that good stuff. Every single night, 30 minutes before I go to bed, I do self-appreciation journaling. And the way that I do that is I will write down 5 things that I did in my personal life that I'm proud of, big or small. Mm-hmm. And then because I'm a serial entrepreneur, I do 5 things in my business that I'm proud of. So, and again, big or small. So examples, I took a shower. Right. Definitely a win for any mom. I don't care who you are.
I got the laundry folded.
Or I did the dishes. Or I let the dog outside, or whatever it happens to be. In my business, I got to a meeting on time, because I also have blue personality, so I tend to be late to things. But, so that was a big deal for me. Or, I did X amount of reach outs today. And the more that I did this, because another thing I've heard a lot of coaches say is success leaves clues. Well, my question to you is, how do you know what those clues are of your success unless you're journaling them? Mm-hmm. And what I ended up finding out, the more and more that I started doing this self-love practice, I stopped worrying about that to-do list. I was so focused on the things that I actually did do that day that I was then finding myself being proud of myself. Mm-hmm. I was starting to grow my confidence from it. I would, my posture definitely skyrocketed. I felt like I was a better mom because some of the things that I journaled was, I had quality time with this kid or that kid or all 3 kids, or that I was a better wife because I was journaling that. And like now, 3 years into it, I can go back through so many journals and say, I am successful today because I did this from this time to this. I did this from this time to this time. So I actually know what my clues are for the success in my path. And like I said, I was able to get more sleep. I got so much confidence, so much. I rewired my brain that way to where now it's just like, I'm not worried about tomorrow. I'm living in the moment. I'm living in today. And no more will I ever go to bed saying I didn't do anything today, because that was a big deal to me.
I think that's a great idea. I do that. I do the 5 things I accomplished, but I do them in my morning journaling. But I think doing it before bed would be really, really a great idea, because that, like you said, it just, then you don't go to sleep thinking, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that. Because I do that. I do that all the time. We all have the lists that are forever long, and we don't feel like we ever get enough done, right?
Right. And speaking of that, I hate calling it a to-do list.
I know.
Because a to-do list, what does it do? It just keeps growing and growing and growing and being heavier and heavier and heavier on you. But what if you called it a will-do list? The will-do list can grow and you will do it. Just doesn't need to be right now, right? So when I have my will-do list, I typically have like 25 things on there, and I will prioritize it. And I put a little star next to the top 3. Those are the 3 that I'm focusing on. Mm-hmm. And when those are done, I can do the next 3. And it keeps growing. So it always goes beyond 25, but I can start marking stuff off. And then my brain is super happy because, hey, you accomplished more things that you can then put in your self-appreciation journal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you.
I like the will-do list or the get-to-do list. Like
yes.
Get to do.
Get to do is awesome.
I need to change that too.
It's all, I find it fascinating nowadays just how the brain works and how just a shift in wording can make such huge impacts. Mm-hmm. And I truly believe, and I know a lot of people say this too, and it's very true, scientifically true. Your brain does not believe anything that you don't tell it to. So if you keep giving it junk, like junk food, because you were talking about foods, keep giving it the chips and the McDonald's and the Burger King all the time, and it's going to be frumpy and bleh. But if you're going to give it the nutrition and everything else that it needs, then you're going to thrive. And that is everybody's goal in life, right? So why not keep feeding it good things? And I also totally believe in the body-mind connection. Like what you eat absolutely affects your mind. And people are always blown away that I don't like chocolate. So because that actually can help your mindset, but I eat very, very little.
In tiny amounts. Yeah. That's like, people are like, ooh, chocolate helps my brain. Great. I'm just going to eat a ton of it. And it doesn't work that way. Yeah, you can't do that.
It's not that, but I was told that chocolate was given to us as a gift from God's source, whatever you want to call that, as a nice reminder of what it's like on the other side.
I will say, I don't like chocolate very much, but as Allyson said, we got together in May and we got to experience, it was my first experience with it. Oh my gosh, cacao is absolutely amazing. Like I was like getting into that cup and I was like, I'm going to eat every last drop of it. Now that's a chocolate that I can do.
Now, Julietta, you remember that? I showed you, we did that women's ceremony and she had like real cacao that she made. Oh my God. It was so good. It was so good. Like I could drink that every day too. Yeah. And her little, in the mug. I know I still have mine too.
I was like,
yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. I've been to cacao ceremonies before. It's very nice.
Yeah. So amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And I have some at home, but we can do our own little ceremony.
Oh, excellent. We'll have to do that. All right. Last question. How do you find accountability in your life?
Ooh, I can list off a couple of ways, but I think the most powerful one, having a rock solid support system. I learned long ago, I was trying to fix things in my life all by myself. And guess what? It never worked. Because when I got in my head and I would spiral, I would let myself, and that was just it. With getting into personal development, doing the things that I've done, having a support system and having people be there for you, no matter what. I mean, I know for a fact, like, I can message Allyson day or night and say, I'm losing my ish, and she will pull me back up. I have where I used to feel alone, I feel very abundant in my connections with people that I know, like, anytime, day or night, I can go to them and just be me and let it all loose. And, if I'm struggling, they're going to be there to say, wait, look at it in a different point of view, because you know better. Because those old ways still sneak in, old ways of thinking. So it's always a nice reminder. And, to have somebody there, just, whether it's you're on cloud nine, and I actually just posted yesterday about my assistants, that's part of my support system. And having them there where I can vent off and be like, this thing ticked me off, or this thing makes me happy, or I'm on cloud nine and, I'm manifesting all these things. I manifested a car in 5 hours. I manifested this house in 3 hours. Like, I'm like, yay, I'm living my best life. I know that's cliche and all that stuff, but I am. To have that in any capacity and to have others do it with me, that is like the most important thing to me. And with the account, it keeps me moving. It keeps me driving forward. It keeps me, like I said earlier, it keeps me waking up every morning saying, whose life do I get to change today? And like you had mentioned too, like, I get to do this. So it's really amazing. And I literally do. I wake up every morning and I pinch myself and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is real life. Okay.
And you manifested a house with a pink kitchen. Like,
yes, I did.
You should see her kitchen. It's like as beautifully pink as her hair. And it was like that. Like when she went and found it.
I didn't have to paint a thing. And an interesting thing, because a lot of people are like, how did you manifest? And like, so here's the timeline. I literally got the pre-approval, and then I went to work. 3 hours later, I went onto the app that I was looking at for houses. And this house had been listed 3 hours prior. So it was literally at the time that I got my pre-approval that this went on the market. I was like, it's a sign. Then I saw the pink kitchen. I was like, it's over. It's mine. Sorry.
And it became yours. And you were not the only offer on the house, from what I understand, right?
No, there were, I believe they said there was like 20 offers. Yeah. And I was also the last offer in, because when we were taking a look at the house, we were told you have 1 hour to decide if you want to put in an offer or not. And I looked at my husband and I said, if you don't, I'm like, then I don't know, because I'm putting in an offer.
Because I'm just going to do it.
Right. And of course, everybody's telling him, like, we're going to paint that, right? And I'm like, over my dead body. And my dad keeps joking around with him. Well, when she goes on her next retreat thing, because my dad now and that's another important piece too. My parents live 14 minutes down the road.
Aw, that's awesome.
Much closer, and they're getting in there. Oh, my dad just had his 66th birthday on Monday, and my mom will be 66 in February. So I like to be close in case they need me and all that good stuff. But it was like all the pieces fit, so I was like, it's got to be. And we got to actually talk to the sellers, and we became instant friends. Like, awesome. They're just amazing. So.
I laugh when you say the age of your parents, not because it's funny, but because I realize I'm probably closer to your parents' age than I am to your age. So I'm like, of course.
1981, baby. If that doesn't make anybody feel old.
That makes me feel a little old when you say that.
And when she was going like, I need to be close to my parents because they're like 66. I'm like, what? I'm like,
no, my sister lives an hour away, an hour and 20 minutes away. My parents don't have great health. My dad had a stroke 9 years ago. And then 6 years ago, he ended up with acute respiratory distress syndrome and double lung pneumonia.
Oh, geez.
So, yeah, all of 2020, I wasn't able to see them at all.
Oh, yeah.
And then, my mom and Annie's diabetic, heart issues. My mom's got, diabetes and other health issues. I have a brother that lives up in Long Island. I have another brother that lives in West Virginia. So it's like somebody needs to be
there
within distance.
Okay.
Which, it's funny too, because growing up, I was like, no, I'm going to live the furthest away. But now I'm like,
no, but I'll let it pass knowing that there's health issues there. But I'm like, 66 is way too young to be like, my dad's 75. He's still like, climbs mountains and goes elk hunting and all kinds of crazy stuff. And I'm not worried about him yet, but he's at the age where I'm like, I'm going to have to start worrying about him at some point. But he's still very fit and active.
Hunting and fishing. They're also raising my niece, and she is a sharpshooter, by the way. She's like 12 years old, and oh my gosh.
Don't say that down here in South Florida, man. They'd be like, "You're what? You're doing what?" We get it because we're from the Midwest. We get it. That's how you grow up, right?
Oh yeah. And then so now and with the ARDS and double lung pneumonia, after that he was forced into retirement, and so he now raises chickens.
Hey,
I love it though. My mom's like, it keeps them busy because she's still working. So, and that's actually. And I know you know this, Allyson. That's actually one of my other big, huge motivators because it broke my heart a couple months ago. My mom and I were just chit-chatting, and she was talking, I'm so proud of you and everything that you're accomplishing. And I finally let her know. It was a secret for a while, but I finally let her know one of my biggest goals is to retire her because she made the comment to me that she will have to work until she's gone. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're going to enjoy the golden years and all that good stuff. So that is a very big thing for me, is to make sure to retire.
Well, you got it. You manifested everything else. You're well on your way. You got it.
Oh,
all right. Julietta, what's your takeaway from today?
So I liked the self-love practice of, because when the fact that she does it at night, as opposed to, because like I have journals that have that, like, you do it the next day, and I'm like, I don't even remember what I did yesterday. But doing it the day before, like at the end of the day, and like just sitting with that sounds amazing. I'm gonna have to try that.
And I will just, and not to interrupt, but I will say another thing I tell people, and because I do gratitude journaling in the morning, and I do goal writing and affirmations and everything in the morning, but I end my day with the self-appreciation. And what I noticed about that too, I wake up in me mode. I go to bed in me mode. And then I can help others in the middle. So I always tell people, don't wake up in anything else but me mode. Don't wake up in mom mode, employee mode, wife mode, because that means you're already giving from the moment that you wake up. And even at nighttime, it's like just to have that time to yourself and show that appreciation and that love. You got it. I was always told from a young age, you got to love yourself first. Well, let's start doing it.
Yeah, for sure. Right? Okay, so my takeaway is this, and it was listening to you talking about your situation and about when you like post on social media, and now that you share with others what you've gone through. And I think what really stood out to me was you made a comment about the vulnerability of it, and that it still doesn't feel great, right, when you do it, but how much it's helping other people. So I think to hear someone else say, yes, it's still always hard to put it out there, but it's important to put it out there, made me feel a lot better about it, because I've always had this thing of, I can't let people know that I've dealt with depression on and off all these years, because then they might not want to work with me, or they might not want to be around, right? That's kind of where your mind goes. And so I think for you to say that it's okay. And that helps me out a lot. So I appreciate that you said that. So thank you. So you helped me today.
You're so welcome. And that's even with the vulnerability, because it's like once you put up a vulnerable post, I don't know if you feel this, every time I do it, I feel like there's a boulder on my chest. I can't breathe and I'm freaking out again, hence the accountability and having the support system, because then I'll reach out to them like, oh my God, I put up another post, I'm freaking out. And they're like, calm down. Gonna be okay. But even looking at that, because I used to look at it as, oh my God, this is my anxiety building up and building up and building up. I then changed the perception, it's growth.
Yeah.
And that's the one type of growth that I will never get sick of.
Yeah.
Let's just keep growing. So I'm so happy I helped you. See?
All right. What's your takeaway from today, my dear?
My takeaway. Oh, so many things. I know we were talking.
One thing, Aleshia. One thing.
I know. She's like, I know you. I'm gonna say my biggest takeaway is just the power of women getting together and being our true, authentic, unique, vulnerable selves, and having an impact. And I love what you guys are doing, and you two are making huge impacts on other people's lives, and I think it's a beautiful thing. And I just think that we need to stay linked and keep doing it, because there's a lot of people that still need our help every single day.
And just to add to that, if it weren't for a certain someone, you and I both know, Aleshia, this probably, I have a lot of support, Julietta obviously being one of those people, but it was a combination of Julietta working with Kimberly, getting to know the whole team, seeing what you coaches do. It was everything that I was like, I can totally do a podcast, right? And Julietta and I did this because we wanted to support women. It started out just small. We just wanted to support the women that we knew. This is completely evolved now. One of our guests earlier this morning, she was from Germany. It's just really cool. And
we are internationally known.
Hey, get it, girls. That's amazing. And I'm so proud of you. And yeah, she gave me the swift kick that I needed, and I say that jokingly, but really what she gave me was hope. Where I felt like I had nobody. Mm-hmm. She was because and Allyson knows, I was like, you don't know me, but you're gonna, was my first message to her. Yeah.
You told me that.
And over time, it's I just kept showing up and everything. And, I was like, I'm going to become this woman's yes girl. If she tells me to read a book, I'm reading the book. If she tells me to do this affirmation, I'm doing the affirmation. So she really did get the ball rolling for me. And I tell her every day, you didn't just change my business life, you changed my personal life, and you saved it so many times. And of course she doesn't take credit for it. She's like, you did the work. And I'm like, but did.
And then think about all the people that's affected. Even us, the three of us being on here doing this, the audience that's listening, the people that you affect every day, the people that Julietta, the patient, the clients she works with, it has such a snowball effect. And I think we need to always remember that with everything that we do.
Absolutely.
So, all right, Julietta.
Appreciation.
Yes, right. Wrap us up, girl.
I'm like, we are talkers today. So
no doubt.
Thank you, Aleshia, so much for joining us. It's been wonderful having you on the show this morning. And I want to thank all of our listeners, those that listened live, those that are listening to us in the future. Thank you so much. And if you like what you heard, please subscribe, follow, share. And hey, if you want to be a guest on the show, if you visit our website, there is a form you can fill out at votgpodcast.com. To be a guest on our show, because all women out there have something to share that someone needs to hear. So please join us. And if you need to connect with any of us, check out the show notes. Aleshia's information and our information is there. We'd love to hear from you. And I want to wish you all a magical day.
Thanks, Aleshia.
Thanks.
Bye.
See you later today. Kind of.
Right?
We'll be in the same place.
Right.